Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Karen. Join the Patreon. Whatever. Mostly join my email list. I send out like 3 emails a year. If you go to my website, paranormalkaren.com or karenrontowski.com. You know what? My friend Shannah's on today. Shannah, I hate podcasts where like the first 5 minutes is an ad. So I try to do this fast and then I'm like, no one's going to sign up. You're not even. So the email list is the best because there's a bunch of comedy dates. Also, the Instagram I seem to keep up on that. There should be a lot more clips coming up, ladies and gentlemen. So, anyways, I'm getting myself together. Today's guest, Shannah, I always want to say Shannah Banana, Shannah from Black Boots with No Vowels. How are you?
Oh my goodness, Karen. I'm so happy that this worked out. I'm great.
You know what? People are not getting used to this, but I'm great too. I'm still in Utica, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I can't believe how much better I feel. So the reason I reached out to you, not only because I always enjoy talking to you, and this, I hope this comes out right. You were always a great psychic. Holy cow. You are just, I swear, on the Predictions podcast, I don't know how you always end up first, but I always end up talking to you first. It was like 2 or 3 things out of the gate. Like that one time that Angela Lovell was like, I think we're going to lose Betty Davis. And it like happened on the day the podcast came out. Like you're in that zone. Are you just like, Karen, I was always that good? Or are you feeling a huge growth?
Definitely a huge growth. And it just kind of keeps hitting at random moments when, like getting into flow and it starts hitting, and sometimes I have those days that are like my quote unquote psychic days where things are just like bam, bam, bam. And those days seem to be happening a bit more frequently. Not going to complain, but at the same time, sometimes I do kind of freak myself out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And you and I text back and forth, so I can attest to these things being true. Do you ever find it like this is the kind of thing I tell people you want to notice an accent. So I order, because I do the no shampoo, I have to order, that's very complicated, but I have to order special shampoo bars from Australia that don't have the chemicals and stuff. And I think I ordered one like a month ago. And this morning I was like, oh, that's coming today. That's coming today. And then I go to the mailbox and there it is. And I always wonder, is it that I psychically tuned into it or that it came into my field of energy? I don't know if that's a dumb question.
I think it's a little bit of both, right? Like I had an instance a couple of weeks ago where I was promoting an event at the wellness center where I work. And I woke up in the morning and I said, oh, this person is not going to be able to vend today. And sure enough, it's just like they pop in. And I think it's all, as long as I'm doing my practice, as long as I am being consistent, which I'm not always, I like to test the waters and like not practice and wait for things to get funky. And then all of a sudden walk around going, oh, why are things so weird right now? Come on.
Yep. Yeah. It's a, you know what too? I think that is, and I'm the one that's always complaining about people that are so sure of themselves. But I think sometimes that's the ego going, you need to be humble, or you know what I mean? The ego is trying to make sure, instead of just going, man, I had 4 or 5 hits today that were really good. And I think it's also people that don't understand psychic stuff don't understand. They're not always important. Sometimes they are the male.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes they're the male. They're the who you're going to see that day. They're who knows what.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I want to start. You made a couple of predictions and I texted you literally like days later that I was like, did you see this? Did you see this? You were talking about the whales, right?
I was.
And tell me what you've seen since then.
You know,
with the whales, yeah.
Yeah, I honestly haven't tuned into that much lately. Like sometimes things just come and they find their place where they land, where they come out of my mouth. Check back in, and that one I haven't fully checked back in. There's been like a couple things that come up on my radar. Yeah, but it still feels very relevant.
And I said that question wrong because I'm going to fill in the blank and answer the question.
Okay.
Because you had said about the whales, and the first thing I saw, I think literally a month after that, was there was a sonar that was bothering the whales, and I can't remember if they were attacking or if they were literally killing themselves because the sonar was bothering them. Whatever the military was doing under the water, they were like, though it was, I'm hacking this up, but like either the whales that only go deep were right up on top of the surface, but there was huge activity, and mankind was bothering the whales. I think I sent that to you, right?
I think you did. Yeah, that's definitely sounds familiar. And I mean, something has to start standing up to these things that are happening, because it keeps getting more wild.
It does. And a different topic, but I just read an article about a woman that lives next to a 5G tower, which they just turned it up again, people, 51 strokes.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Like that's not a normal, unless somebody email me if it is, but I feel like whatever like you and I are both, we're not people don't like the fear podcast, but I think it's like how would you explain, like we're okay with the dark side, we're just going through the movie, right?
Yeah, you have to go into the dark so that you can bring light to it. You have to have the dark for the light. Did I ever tell you the story about my brother with eye cancer?
No, tell me.
So now it's not related to 5G, but it's related to this environmental thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother came back from Afghanistan with what ended up being eye cancer. And the military took kind of their stance with it, took very good care of him, Will's eye, the whole thing. But what ended up happening is he was in his early 30s. What ended up happening is that they found out that there were I think at that time there were 4 other males who all developed this very rare eye cancer in our neighborhood. Like not, close enough to him. And they all had blonde hair and blue eyes, which is also, I don't know what you want to do with that. But I'm just bringing this up because these environmental things that happen, 5G, whatever, they do affect people. Like I literally, there was some news teams or whoever they were that kind of came into my family that were trying to, study my brother. That never went too far, but these are things that we do need to pay attention to. There's all sorts of weird things. There's things where I live up here in Elmira. And once you start kind of bringing them, once I said this story to a couple of people, all these other people are like, oh, well, did you hear about this? And did you hear about that? I'm like, no, I didn't hear about that until I brought my own story out in my own family.
Yeah. And again, I don't see conspiracy as fear because I'm not afraid of death or dying or change.
Mm-hmm.
Too old for that. But I really think there's a concerted attack on mankind from governments or whatever. And it's not that we can't beat it, because I do think we have the way to heal and all this stuff. But it's almost like I know it's weird that they were all blonde and blue eyed. It's almost like there was some sort of a test on that. Like those people, I would say.
Something, I mean, this easily kind of segments into the way organized religion, in my opinion, controls and works to control, and is also becoming one of these. And this was another one of my predictions. I remember this one pretty strongly because of how I'm seeing, like I have a friend that used to read my astrology chart that I would go to. And all of a sudden I'm reading all these like Christian-y, going to see these pastors and this and that. And I'm like, what's happening?
Yes, you nailed that. You started with Kat Von D, and then oddly enough, a friend of this show, who a lot of you might know that was really big on tarot, just flipped one day. Like flipped fast. And I just sent him a note and said, I hope I hope we're still friends because, we don't need to. But it was like a Doreen Virtue flip that that this is all evil, but if you want to fall me over. And what do you were right. First of all, and I think I had a version of that. You had like Kat Von D and a couple of them. And one of my least favorite people who I'm not going to say who it is because people probably don't think he's a sexual assaulter, but he is, just switched his lane again and became a Christian because I think he's looking for an audience and nobody's believing him where he is right now. But what do you think that is?
I mean, honestly, some of it feels opportunist. Some of it feels, well, a lot of it just feels like overall control, especially of women, especially of, even non-binary folks, trans folks, like ways to control things that they see as like gaining momentum and bringing us back down. And luckily, in my opinion, I feel like we've gone too far to one side to really have that make a huge impact on what's happening. But there's always free will.
Yeah, I think the part of the conspiracy where I feel like we're winning was almost like I kind of do feel like the economy is slowing down now. And I want to tell people economy was supposed to go bust last year and everyone said, screw it. I don't care. I'm going to buy what I want. And we, the people, kept the economy that the government wanted to break. We kept it alive. And I kind of feel like that's what people are doing. There's a certain segment that is going to go for this stuff, but there's everybody else is like, oh, hey, you guys do your thing. We're okay over here. And that didn't used to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that, especially with, even like looking at what Bitcoin is doing right now. That's not, and I don't know enough about Bitcoin to really speak to it, but I am watching the trends because it's kind of fun to watch, especially if you throw $50 in one day and then, a couple days later it turns into $60 and you're like, that was pretty easy.
Yes.
A little bit. But, that's not a subject I really want to go down into, but it's just showing like, I'm even, I vend my art, across the country. And I'm even noticing just watching some of the events this year, like last year was a really hard year for that sort of realm, for the way people were spending money and the way people were, choosing to kind of go outside just their, basics. It was hard. But this year already, despite kind of how 2024 feels, like it still feels like people are like spending more money and getting more and just like having more fun. And it's like, okay, there's these two sides of it that are really strong. There's still this, we're in an election year, like all the things that brings, but it's still like a very strong alignment year. I've got some other things that have been, this is a fun one. I don't know if you've noticed anything different with the chakras, with the energy centers, but there's some really strong things that are coming in that are like giving me hope. Even like I mentored a student with an art piece, and the way that they are able to articulate as a high school student, I was like, okay, I think there's some hope here.
Yes. Talk more about the chakras because I don't know if you meant that in this way, but like I'm almost more aware of the chakras now and the energy flow. And sometimes I can feel almost like something touching my chakras. I mean that in a clean way, not a naughty way.
Yeah.
Or something that is tapping me, like sort of like getting my attention.
Well, for one, the Kundalini / awakening / the snake energy, dragon energy, whatever you kind of want to call it, it's like that's sort of all about some of that movement. That's kind of a collective thing that's happening. But what I'm noticing and what I've noticed since I, got on this awareness, journey, whatever you want to call it, 10, 15 plus years ago at this point, I always kind of had this feeling of like between the third and the fourth, so between the solar plexus and the heart, I was like, there's too much space there.
Yes.
And I also can't seem to really I couldn't ever seem to really locate my power center. Like I know that I feel strong, I do feel powerful, and I know I can like tap into it. But as like a physical location, I struggled with that. So what I am seeing coming in, which has been very much like validated in the dream space for me, has been the addition of other chakra centers between the third and the fourth.
Wow.
And it's been, I've been dreaming in like monochromatic colors, which I think is also very connected to those new chakra points. There's a lot. Yeah.
Hold on one second, because I have like 10 questions. I'm going to take a break and come right back. This is fascinating. Okay, I'll be right back.
Are you a seeker who craves a life of authenticity and freedom, but can't seem to get unstuck from experiences of duality? My name is Z, and I spent years stuck in victimhood, craving enlightenment, but trapped in a cycle of 2 steps forward and what felt like 100 steps back. I felt like I was drowning in fear and shame until I started learning about the nervous system. It turns out that while we are spiritual beings, we are only able to be here because of these physical bodies, and the nervous system is just trying to keep us alive by bringing us back to fight, flight, freeze responses. We can get stuck in these defense states, or we can gain resilience by developing a respectful and trusting relationship with our nervous system. If you're ready to learn more, check out my YouTube channel and join us for online coaching and courses by going to www.anexperiencer.com. That's anexperiencer.com. See you there.
Okay, so this makes so much sense. And I'm just going to throw something in. When you're dreaming, because I thought like in paranormal investigation, the all spec camera is created more like a cat's eye, like the shape of a cat's eye, because there are more colors on the spectrum than we see. Do you kind of feel like you're seeing new colors?
100%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm able to see them in my dreams. And I try, like, how you try to kind of like bring things from the dream space into waking, like, especially if it's like a really cool dream, you want to like almost like pull it through.
Mm-hmm.
I unfortunately, and hopefully maybe I will at some point, I haven't been able to do that, but waking up and feeling, and like, I always have my notepad right next to me. I have a good friend that, shout out to my friend Anna, that we'll send things back and forth, and we're very connected. We teach together. We do a couple different things together. And, the first time it happened, I was just like telling her about it. She was in the dream and I'm like, yeah, and everything was orange. And she wrote me back immediately and was like, everything has been orange for me too. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, something's here. And feeling into those centers, like I'm starting to kind of like I can't, the way that I do my guided meditations is I pull earth and cosmic energy through each of the centers. And I can't quite pull through those centers, those, the new ones that I'm noticing. I can't quite pull the energy through them yet, but it's getting closer to kind of like being available. And I think like my first hit on this, what this is connected to is memory and access to the Akashic records, bringing in all versions of ourselves into these bodies. This is something, again, I'll give credit to one of my other teachers, like bringing all versions of ourselves in together and then starting to notice it all over. It's like, oh, we do, like, this is like a game time, like all hands on deck, call in all the versions of yourself and practice and movement, like, because these physical bodies need to also be able to kind of catch up to it. It's like everything more support for this to happen.
So much there. When it was so funny because your phone did something when you said all versions of yourself that it sounded like it was two voices. And I feel like, I don't know if it's and it could be fragments of ourselves or it could be all our beings at once. I remember once I had on an ayahuasca trip, the lady showed me 3 people. And the one I remember most was an Indian woman. And she said, "These are all you." And I said, "Oh, these are past lives." And she said, "No, they are you now." And I was like, because time is what? And she's like, "No, they're all you now. Forget it." That's how ayahuasca lady was every time. She's like, "You don't get it. Just forget it." But it could also be that all versions like that. That's so fascinating. Also, that would make sense in that Jessa always said at a certain point, you didn't need Reiki training. We all had it. Like it became a part of us. So maybe the access to the Akashic records is going to just become a part of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely think it is. And Reiki has never been my modality, so I can't speak to it. Clients have told me that I sort of work Reiki adjacent, which is fine. I also kind of think that whatever sort of being I am in my higher self, whatever that is, whatever version that is, sort of already had some of these lower chakras, like maybe like I can describe it as like the imprints of them there. And I've always kind of been aware of it. So now that it's starting to kind of come in and I'm hearing it, kind of through social media, wherever other people are saying it too, they're like, yeah, I think there is something else happening here. And definitely, how it is when we're readers, we're healers, or whatever we want to call ourselves, energy workers, we tend to get this information. We tend to get this stuff like just ahead of our clients so that then we can, actually speak to it when we start noticing it within our clients. Because the things the things that are going on with clients right now have been really shifting. And it's like interesting because like I'll have like a downswing in like people booking with me and I'll be like, okay, what am I about to go into? Because here we go.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I think we all got the shadow work and it's about to crack open for everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. And man, I've just witnessed some folks that are just like beyond, like nervous systems, like to the point where their body is like constantly shaking, and it's just been really hard to watch.
Yeah.
But also just noticing it's like, all right, this is what we're here for. We meet people where they're at. And we just hope that we can show them, because a lot of what I'm doing right now literally is just showing people, holding the space and showing them, bringing them within their body, showing them what I call like the entry or exit points of popping into their higher self, popping into that meditative space, quantum field, whatever you kind of want to call it. And everyone, in my experience, have different access points to that. It's all different. It's so fascinating. Like, I think that's why, my work is just endlessly fascinating for me, is because people like these, we walk around as these humans and we're like, oh, we're so the same. But then when we start to go into the energetics of it, it's just like, holy shit.
We're not. Yes.
We're so different.
I agree. And I think that's why I think it was Jessa that said there's a lot of timelines crossing right now. Like they didn't used to really cross like this. So literally Mandela effects are happening daily, I think. I see more and more, and when people post them online, I'm just convinced we are, and we are that energetically different. And not to everybody's having their own experience, but I also feel like there is so much available in waking up. This is a weird story, but the other night I got woken up because something fell off of my bedroom table, and it banged, and it banged so hard that that when something scares you out of sleep, you're almost shaky for a little bit. And I always like talk radio, not for what they're saying, but I like the voices. Like I'll fall asleep to voices talking mostly, except they've been so weird now. There's that white knuckling of the old paradigm. So I hit the radio, and Coast to Coast AM was on, and without anything before it, a woman's voice came on, and she said, "That is why I cover myself with ribbons and layers of protection and white light." And I thought that was not like, I was like, is something in this room? It was such perfect timing. The whole sentence came through when I turned on the radio. Didn't even miss, that's why, missed the question. And it then gave me I now have a new way when I feel something and I need to be protected. I have a new way to do it with ribbons and lights through the ribbons. So it's literally that clear. And I know that other people will just have their experience. But there's some people white knuckling to how it used to be really bad, and they're getting full of rage. Have you noticed that?
They're definitely, the rage maybe not directly in the people that I work with, but it's certainly like social media, in the community.
Right. Not anybody that would go to you for a healing. These would be people that you see them out in the street having fights over parking spots, or like really like, I just feel like there's a certain, well, we know because of all the wars and what's coming up in the election that there's a lot of dark energy for the ickies to eat, but it just feels like everything's kind of volatile.
Yeah, it's really rough. There's a situation locally with a very young, like 7-year-old trans kid that just has gotten so ugly on social media. And social media is really, I think I texted you about this. It was like, stay off social media this week. Like, or stay off days. Like, yeah, there's been some really intense, and I notice it. I'm 100% guilty of it. But just as much as we can stay off social media, like it has become its own, like, I mean, it has been for a while, its own just force of destruction and force of shutting us down, disconnecting us. It's really hard to watch. It's really hard. I do a lot of community work, so I like to kind of be at the pulse of what's happening in my community. But man, this last one just got so ugly that I was, the rage. So that, absolutely.
And also the other thing is, because I say watch your search, because I can search art and look at it all day, and it's lovely. And then if you put in politics, or politics starts to come up, it all goes south. You know what I mean? But so if you're on watch your search, this is another weird one, but I know that TikTok is made to, I really do like TikTok, but it's made to keep you scrolling and keep you going. And if I do TikTok before I go to bed, I can't sleep. So if I'm overly tired, like before a set, I'll do like a couple minutes of TikTok, and it'll like wake me up, which probably isn't healthy. But yeah, there's you have to be aware all the time when you're on social media. And I don't even mean for what you're looking at. I mean for what's behind it.
Yeah, being intentional about going into it, like going, get in, get out.
Set an alarm. Yeah, set
Yeah.
an alarm. I want to learn how to draw carrots. So I, go with that. But I will set an alarm because and also even like I think my Instagram is pretty upbeat and friends, but the other ones when they start throwing in people that you don't know, that's kind of weird. Although as a person in the entertainment industry, I know I need it. But did you see the movie where the world shuts down, Leave the World Behind?
I did. Yeah.
Um I still feel like the whole purpose of that movie was so that in the middle, that intense moment when he says, "No one's in charge, no one's doing this." I think that was the lie. The rest of it is I think that they want us to believe everybody's innocent, nobody's doing this. And I don't believe that. But what did you think of that movie?
I enjoyed it.
As a
I
movie,
enjoyed
me too, yeah.
I enjoyed that. But looking at that movie and then starting last night, I went to see the new Dune movie, looking at the colors, looking at the way things are being used, even the previews for things. Starting to and I'm also like a huge fan of Poor Things as a new movie that's out. But watching the colors, the textures, the messages, the jump scares, like there's so much that's just feels so connected. And there's a whole conspiracy around that movie with the Obamas being producers or whatever they were.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't think there's any mistakes in what's being used, but I also am appreciating that I'm also seeing it being used in a good way. In a way
Yes, I agree too when there is like when I'm in a certain space, I can watch the politics and I can see it is politics. This station is pushing this station is pushing this. If I'm not on a balanced frequency, I can be like, well, wait a minute, why is that on there? So, and I almost watch none of it now. It's a weird, that person that I don't like that's suddenly Christian. I decided to turn off everybody that was backing him, and my life got so much better. It was all of a sudden like all the misogynists disappeared from my life, and I was like, wow, that's all I had to do. I need to thank that person. So it really depends from what format you're watching it. Because it really was, I thought it was a good movie. People hated the ending so much, but it was entertainment. When you can watch it as entertainment, because some people on TikTok went down a rabbit hole with that. Oh, did you see it said this and then it said the secret message this? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going there. That's too much. Right?
Yeah, it's almost like you have to like turn your brain off. Like I can't watch certain shows. Like if I go into and start watching a movie or start watching a show and I'm in a certain frequency, I guess I'll call it, my brain is just like, this is bullshit. This is this. Like I can't allow myself. But if I have intent of like, I need to chill, I need to slow down, I need to just watch this for entertainment and keep it at a surface level, it's almost like I can like downshift my brain to accept the acting that I always, if I'm in a higher
Frequency.
gear, I just like, I'm like, well, they're obviously lying. They're obviously acting. Like I can't.
I know what you're talking about. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Okay. Hey, everybody. How's that spiritual awakening going? I know. Don't worry. Help is here. HighlySpiritualPerson.com is a haven for spiritual misfits and empaths navigating spirituality and mental health. My friend Camille has a plethora of resources on her site to help you on your spiritual journey, even if you're just starting out. It includes individual and collective Reiki sessions, personalized guided meditations, sleep affirmation tracks, and so much more. Camille has so much to offer. She's going to be on my podcast in December. I can't wait to talk to her. Her blog posts and podcast episodes explore spirituality and are great for folks carving out their own path. She has written 2 easy-to-follow guidebooks, one on breathwork, and the newest book is called Manifestation is Easy, and it features 22 step-by-step manifestation techniques, as well as tips and advice on how to overcome the most common blocks and start changing your reality. Go to highlyspiritualperson.com. I promise you, you will get lost in how much information is in there. It's one of my favorite rabbit holes. Okay, so what you do so well, because sometimes you and I get on texting for mornings for a while. You put into words exactly what I'm thinking or what I think I'm doing, because it's almost like there's this really interesting watch your input. What are you intaking? And everybody knows I'm suddenly obsessed with The Walking Dead. All of a sudden it caught me and it was great. And there's a point where I'll look at it or sometimes I can't look at it because I'm like, they're smashing heads. They're smashing people's heads and it's unbelievably gory. But for some reason, that show I can watch another show where they're watching, killing zombies and feel like this is so much negativity. And I don't know the difference, but exactly what you said, my brain can shift to this one, but not this one. And maybe it is intent, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they are sending us secret messages. But it's really interesting to me that I love that show. And then I'm like, am I really watching human beings smash human beings? I am. And it's fine.
Yeah, some things just have a different feel to them, and it is hard to put some of that into words.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just thinking about like the colors, the fascination. Did you see Poor Things yet?
No. Is it on the TV or is it on my iPad, or do I have to see it in the movie theater?
I think it just came out. You have to like buy it on Amazon or something, which I will probably do because I saw it in the theater twice. But there's just the way that it's shot and the way that the colors are used is what is just really resonating with me. Like it starts off black and white and eventually, and it gets technicolored, and then it kind of like the colors expand to the full spectrum. And that just feels like such a metaphor of like what's happening right now, especially again with the chakra system, but like, and it's in that, it's like the way that, and who knows if this director was aware of any of this, but the way creativity in my belief system kind of works is like we tap into that muse, we we attract that muse, or we call that muse in, we get,
yes,
we open up to it and we let it filter through our physical bodies, like however, and we get to create. That's what, that's why I think I will always be an artist, because we get to create. I started kind of playing with drawing people's energies in sessions, especially some medical mediumship stuff has been coming through. So drawing some of it and starting to kind of like really give physical to the non-physical, because I think that's part of how we will evolve. That's part of like this quote unquote new art that I've heard people talking about, is being able to make the non-physical physical. Especially I strongly believe that this is something that I'm here for and what I'm dedicated to. And the mantra that I've held for over a year now is to create this work, create this art that's awakening, earth-shattering, mind-blowing, all the big words, like making it big. And also that when I come back to this planet, because I have 3 lives I have to live as being here, I've figured out that when I come back to this planet, they will wake ass back up too. Like this has like been my intention. I have talked about it before, but I just feel so strongly about it, and strongly that it's being put into films. So if it's, like if some of the gore, like if it makes sense, if it like is warning us, if it, whatever it's doing, if it's shutting us down, I do really think that these things have a lot of power to them.
Mm-hmm. What you were saying about the muse, I just did a gig in Pennsylvania. And the drive down, I listened to The War of Art and Big Magic and talk about two inspirational books that will give you such a different idea about what ideas are and how you capture them or what energies work through you. And it's amazing. So I do think people sort of get a little bit possessed by ideas. And I mean that in a good way, not a bad way. That's also Barbie. The Barbie movie, the color in that. I still haven't seen it. I need to see it though, because I think that my inner feminist is going to like it.
Yeah, it's
that good.
Yeah, I've seen it like 3 times. Yeah, it's so fun.
Good. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's that play on color. I love that you're drawing energy or auras or this sounds fascinating. Do you put this up on Instagram? I don't see your posts that much.
I haven't put this specifically. It's kind of, so I have 2 big projects this year, and the first one is very much around inner child, and it's for a kids museum. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't quite speak to it yet. And I can't quite post. So all of the work that I'm doing is kind of behind the scenes right now. And then in September, I've got a solo show that will be an installation based on the way that I see people's energy. And it will be creating that non-physical into the physical. And, it started, I read for some people, I read for this gentleman who was so interesting, energetically. I read for him and I started like looking, because he asked me to kind of look at some health issues. I'm like, okay. So I started kind of looking and I'm like looking around and I'm like, okay, so all of the organs look like they're like deflated balloons. And I'm like looking and, I'm like, do I not know anatomy? Like what's going on here? And I'm describing it. Finally, he stops me and he's like, I had gastric bypass surgery. I think that's what you're seeing. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, okay. Once that kind of like, that piece sort of locked into place, then I could go and say, okay, now that I've seen that, I understand that, now I can kind of navigate through the rest of that and I can give you the things that can be done energetically. One of the things was he needs to be on the water needed to be moving, and he ended up telling me that his water connection was he was in the Navy and blah blah blah. Always been healing, but I haven't been there. And I was like, get in the water. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, this is a way that you heal yourself. And that's been a thing, is like showing people like we can heal ourselves. It's like, and sometimes we just need like a physical representation of it. So if I can draw it for someone and be like, okay, this is how to move the energy. This is like, these are the things that you can bring into your life. Like however it comes through, that's sort of where things are moving for me as far as, my creative and this work and the reading.
That is fantastic. And I hope, be sure that I know when your show is in September, because I think I might be back. I'm going to be back and forth to Utica. So, I would love to see your show.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'd be honored. Yeah.
Oh, man. Sure. That is fascinating. Like I said, are you doing like all psychic work right now? Like people can make an appointment and talk to you, or do you only do in-person healings?
No, I do. I'm actually potentially working more virtually, especially once this podcast comes out, because I think right now I need to step away from my office space. Potentially, it's still kind of in flux, but I think by the time this comes out, that I will be working more virtually, because I need to really like dial everything in, and working virtually just like lets go of some other, having a physical space, that kind of thing. And also working virtually, sometimes it's a little bit easier for me, because when I'm in person with people, I can get overwhelmed by energy and have a hard time kind of holding it a little bit. It's still something that I'm working with. Not saying I can't do it. like virtually sometimes can be a little bit easier for me because I can be in my physical space and just sort of use my direct connection.
Excuse me. I sneezed.
My connection to them rather than, sometimes things get I see like a little too much. Like dial it in.
My tarot teacher puts little stones out, and you have to touch the stones. You have to pick out 5, and then you hand them to her because direct contact is too much.
Yeah, it can be. There's just been instances like I had a mom and daughter, and they wanted to be read together, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to. The mom's energy was just so overwhelming that I had to just read them separately. So things like that happen.
Yeah.
And who knows, like I keep open to spirit, and they let me know, like, okay, you're letting go of this space. And sometimes I do fight it like we all do.
Yes.
But I'm really especially I'm going to be offering at practice groups, which is because I believe that my own practice needs to be so consistent that I also just want to start offering that to my clients as well, of like, all right, let's get in here, let's be consistent, and let's hold each other together, because you know how it is when you're in a group, the progress that a group can make.
Mm-hmm. And really, I'm all for that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, which I think will also be a virtual thing so that it can kind of encompass a larger amount of people too.
Yeah, I would join that group. I do that with the people in my tarot Patreon, a safe space to do the work. What you were saying earlier is something we never think of with healing. And I know somebody told me my human design said I'm supposed to be near mountains. Like, I'm not a beach person. I'm supposed to be near mountain, and I'm really not a beach person, but that's the kind of stuff we don't think of. Like, I'm not built for this area. I'm not built for winter. And and my healing takes place in a place that either has a very light winter, or like that, you telling him to be over water. Like, a doctor would roll their eyes if they heard you say that. And he might actually be like, no, my health got so much better when I got a boat.
Yeah. And that stuff comes in. That there was a woman that was they were unable to pass kidney stones, and once I sort of like clued in, I was like, okay, let me find the area. I mean, she didn't tell me anything about the kidney stones first. I just kind of went right to her lower abdomen. I was like, okay, there's blood here. There's like clots of blood. Okay, it's not menstrual. Like, what is this? And I'm just describing it. And finally she tells me I can't pass these kidney stones. And I'm like, oh, as soon as that clicks, as soon as I see it, it clicks for them, then I can watch the energy, and it's like, okay, these are the emotional things that need to happen for this to happen, for your body she was trying to avoid surgery. These are the things that you can do to support your body. And I really feel like this is where sort of the medical system is going, because I mean, we could talk, that's a whole nother podcast, the medical system. But
if you can get into it, it's terrible. But I can't even get an appointment up here.
Yeah.
I can't even get an appointment for bad medical help.
Yeah. I believe.
I'm going to make a little bit of a leap here, but there were two things, and this is why I thought of you today. I was like, I'm going to text Shannah and see what she thinks. So I confess, I wear the headphones. I don't wear earpods. I wear the headphones because I'm trying to do better with not destroy my hearing, which I think we're all just destroying our hearing anyways. That's going to go. If somebody's making a hearing aid, I need to invest in that company because we're all going to go deaf. So, there has been, and I feel like I'm getting a psychic upgrade too, or a peace upgrade or something. So there's been ringing in my ears, especially when I first wake up. But I was like, I don't think I have tinnitus because it's not bothersome. It's when I tune in and notice it, and it goes like this. Doot, doot, doot. And sometimes it's longer, but it's not like, I think tinnitus is like it's a constant, right? I don't know. But And I know sometimes that's like something supposed to get your attention, but it's happening so much. Like, is that an upgrade? How do you perceive that? Or do I have ear cancer?
Mhm.
One of the two.
I mean, definitely things with the ears. There's the physical, right? We always check the physical kind of first, if we can get an appointment, right?
Right.
There is some ear stuff around, like perimenopause, menopause
Oh, that could be it.
I've experienced, and not saying, who knows, but there's also, tuning into it. Have you experienced like any vertigo too?
I will tell you that was part of my second question. There has been like just now talking to you, I started to get congested. There's been a lot of stuff going on sort of third eye area, where I'm not sick, but I can't stop sneezing or blowing my nose or something. And granted, I'm in winter in a very small apartment with a big heater. So it could be that. But, so here's something that I also started listening to hemisyncs, which are like a better version of binaural beats. And I listened to them for 2 hours in a hotel room, and I looked out the window, and not vertigo, but it was literally as though the parking lot was expanding, like a visual, like a psychic trick. Like if you watch something that was spinning for hours and then the world's spinning because you did that. And I did it like 3 times, and that is one thing. And then also, this doesn't happen as much now, but if I can between readings, I'll walk. I'll go outside and walk somewhere. And
Sure.
whenever I would do that here in Utica, there were like 2 S's that would start to, like, reality was going to open up. Like it was almost like you're so close to these opening up and seeing the Matrix. They never did, but it was always like when I was in that reading psychic mode. Like I know that I'm in a really magical place. Upstate New York is really magical in a weird way, but that's kind of, I don't know if that answered the question.
No, I mean, this very much the way you're describing it with all of those details very much sounds like psychic, like upgrading for sure. It's an eyesight thing. It's a like an expansion thing. It's almost like and I'm not sure exactly. I haven't figured this one out yet, but it's almost like we're having a hard time titrating between like going so far and working with someone like we're able to work with people energetically. The reading space has gotten so like intense because we really are, as readers, I feel like we are sort of in this space where we really need to we're really here to help awaken everything, right? We're really here to like, and not just awaken like on a hold on, let me get better words. Like we're really here to show people their magic. We're here to show them their entry points, their ways that they get into their higher selves. So it's showing them and moving into it with them and like being like here, like really like ushering them in, really like bringing them and expanding it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we're so far in and like so like working on expanding with them, it makes it hard to come back. And like our physical kind of like takes a minute and is like the vertigo stuff, the ear stuff, being able to like, when I look out in nature, it's almost like I can sort of like fuzz my eyes out a little bit and I start to see all the energy in nature, especially, and happen with people. And oddly enough, it's somehow potentially connected to some COVID symptoms, which is
that could be
interesting and weird. Like, but it's like, I don't know how else to say it other than it's like getting harder to human sometimes to like come back to human.
That's
No, like we're like
yes.
blown open. Yeah. That it's like hard to come back. So like walking, like literally, I read for some folks yesterday and in between my guides were like, go outside, touch this tree. And I touched that tree and I'm like, okay. They're like, They're like, walk further away from your office and go to this other tree, and both hands be on it. Now your back needs to be on it. And I'm just like, okay. Yeah, I'm humaning. I'm doing great. Everything's great. I'm not losing my mind.
Yes, I feel that way too. Sometimes I have to, it's freezing and it's raining and they're like, why? They're like, I go around the outside to get my mail and they're like, why don't you come through the building? And I'm like, I can't explain it, but I need it. I need to be out there. Out in the air. And I don't know if I'm doing this, but if I'm this summer, I was looking at campsites, staying at campsites. And at first I'm like, you're not a bug person. You're going to sleep in your car. What is all? And then there's a part of me that's like, yeah, you're going to sleep in your car. You're not going to be near 5G. You're going to give it a try, see what it feels like. But there's something about, I don't know what it is. Shannah, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. And I, like I said, I always knew you were brilliant, but man, you are hitting a new level. Tell everyone where they can go to make an appointment or email you or go in your group or whatever's happening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me today, Karen. I always enjoy these conversations. Folks can find me on my website, which is blackboots.com. I spell that without any vowels, so BLCKBTS.com. You can also just Google my name, Shannah Warwick, and find me. And the practice group will hopefully be started by the time this comes out. And I'm open for readings. I love to do in person. I live in a beautiful area. So if you want to travel to me, if you're near me, or we can always work virtually, because that's some really exciting ways of working with folks. It's that's really fulfilling on both ends, hopefully.
You know what? I never noticed Warwick is such a great name for like a witchy woman.
Yes, Lady Warwick. I call myself, right?
I love it. Also, you're the Tall Girls Club. I remember when you came to a show and I met you and all your friends, and I was like, this is the tallest group of women I've been in a long time. I loved it.
We're going to take over the world, Karen.
Yes. All right, everybody. Go to the website is in the show notes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm pretty sure the summer's going to be solid. I'll let you know if I need a month off or something, just because of scheduling and trying to get everything in and making sure my guests are as wonderful as they have been. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. And we will, don't forget Alien School. Everyone, I'm going to see you in August at Alien School. Have a great day.